We shall be discussing today the difference between a private company and a public company. It's a very important topic. Now, have you ever wondered, or you must have wondered, that sometimes if the name of a company is XYZ, you come across XYZ Limited and sometimes it is written XYZ Private Limited. So why does this happen? And where should we use the term limited, right? And where is the term being used private limited? So we will be discussing in detail and the answer will be very clear to you. See, as far as the private and public company is concerned, the first point I shall talk about is the number of members. To constitute a private company, you need a minimum of 2 members and the maximum 200 members. Beyond 200 members, a private company cannot have. If it has members more than 200, it ceases to be a private company. The definition only defines it. Okay. When I speak the term member, by member, I mean a shareholder. Okay. So, member means a shareholder. So, a private company cannot have less than 2 members and at the same time cannot have more than 200 members. When we talk about the public company, in this case, the minimum number of members is 7. And when we talk about the maximum limit, there is no limit at all. You can have infinite, countless number of members in a public company. The minimum bar will be the same 7, but the maximum bar, there is no bar at all. So this is the first difference. And if you try to define a private and a public company, this will be the main line constituting the definition of both these terms. Move further. Second point comes the number of directors. Generally, what the students do, they get confused between the term member and the term directors. The last slide was regards the number of members. In this slide, I'm talking about the number of directors. In a private company, minimum number is 2, okay, and the maximum number of directors it can have is 15. The company can increase the number of directors if it wants to, but it has to take the permission of the central government. Without that, if you have not taken such a permission, the number of directors cannot exceed beyond 15. Coming over to the public company, the minimum number is 3. There should be a minimum of 3 directors, and the names and the addresses of the directors, they must be intimated to the ROC, Registrar of Companies. You have to deposit their names and addresses with ROC along with your Memorandum of Association. When you submit your MOA, you have to give this detail regarding the directors. When we talk about the maximum number of directors, it is 15 in the public company. Now, if a public company wants to keep more than 15 directors, you have to pass a special resolution in the general meeting. Certain formalities have to be done and then you can increase the number of directors. But generally, what term you have to remember, it is 2 and 15 in the private company and 3 minimum and 15 maximum in a public company. Next point is invitation to the general public. Why do the companies invite general public? They invite the common citizens like you and me to come and subscribe for the shares and debentures and other securities. So this is how the company gets funded. When you need more and more capital, you take the money in the form of shares and debentures. Now, if we discuss the private company, it cannot invite general public to subscribe to its shares, to subscribe to its debentures and for any other public deposit. It is not allowed. This does not invite general public. Private company does not have any such right. Okay. And for a public company, it invites general public to subscribe to its shares, debentures and public deposits. So, public company has the right to invite to the common citizens to subscribe to its share capital, whereas the private company has no such right. Now, the point, what if a private company invites general public to subscribe its shareholders? Imagine so many people come forward in large numbers. Let's say a private company is inviting people to subscribe to its shares in the form of it issues a prospectus also, and it is started subscribing its share capital. But the condition is, in the very definition of private company, that it cannot have more than 200 members. If it has more than 200 members, what will happen is it ceases to be a private company. So when the condition states that you cannot have more than 200 members, and if you start inviting the public, what will happen? So many people will come in large numbers to subscribe to your shares. But there is a condition for you. You cannot have more than 200 members. So what will happen? There will be a chaos as to whom to deny and whom not to deny. So the shares in private company, they are never issued for an invitation to the general public. It is never done. The shares, they are subscribed to private placement only. Like, what if one director is there and then it can contact the people that, do you want to become a member of this company? So private placement, you can keep on asking, do you want to come in? Do you want to come in? But the invitation to the general public at large is not possible in case of private company. Next, issue of prospectus. This is just in the continuation of the last slide. Private company need not issue a prospectus. Now, what is a prospectus? Prospectus is an advertisement which a company gives. It gives a glimpse of its financial status and it's working to the general public so that the people come forward in large numbers to subscribe to its shares and debentures. Now, for that case, to influence the people, to invite the people, they issue a prospectus. It acts as a mirror. You are showing them what you are going to do so that people come in large numbers to subscribe to your share capital. Now, because private company is not giving an invitation to the general public, therefore, the private company need not issue a prospectus. A private company cannot issue a prospectus giving public invitation for the purchase of its shares. No public notice for the sale of shares or debentures, it cannot be issued. No public notice can be given by a private company. Now, as for a public company, it is very compulsory for a public company to issue a prospectus. A public company should issue a prospectus or a statement in lieu of prospectus to invite the people, to invite the public for the purchase of its shares and debentures. Otherwise, if such a prospectus is not issued, how will the people come to know that so and so company is going to list an IPO? The so and so company is further subscribing its shares. So, for a public company, a prospectus is must. Next is the commencement of business. See, as far as the legal formalities are concerned, we will come to a conclusion that private company has its privileges are given to it. So many legal formalities are not required for a private company, but in a public company, you have to undergo a deal of legal formalities. Now, the business of a private company can be started after getting the certificate of incorporation. Once you get the certificate of incorporation, you are fully authorized to start your business. But in case of a public company, the business can be started only after getting the certificate of commencement of business. So here, what certificate was required? Certificate of incorporation. And here you have to get the certificate of commencement of business. Without this, you cannot start your business in a public company. The certificate is issued only when a minimum number of shares have been subscribed by the public. So this is a condoniment showing that people having faith in your company. So if people are having faith in your company and having faith in you, only then they will come forward to subscribe to your share capital. If minimum subscription has been subscribed, only then you will get the certificate of commencement of business. See, people's money is involved in public company. So therefore, all these legal formalities have been made for a public company so that there are minimum chances of fraud. Right? So first you will get the minimum subscription and then you will get the certificate of commencement of business. Only then you can start a business in a public company. Next point is the transfer of shares. See, a private company does not permit the transfer of shares without prior permission. Basically, generally what the books and what many people write, if you come across, they write that no permission in a private company to transfer shares. But if you go for a little detail, the thing is that private company does not permit the transfer of shares without prior permission. Okay. If the members are less than 200, then the transfer is allowed because the maximum bar for the members is 200. Now, if the members are less than 200, then you can transfer, no problem, but that too with a prior permission. If the members are become 200, then there is not at all it is allowed, because then too you cannot have more than 200 members. Now, bar aa gaya, right? Now, for a public company, transfer of shares is freely allowed. N number of times, you can transfer the shares. There is no restriction at all. Though some procedure has to be followed for the transfer, okay, but there is no restriction on the transfer of shares. One person can easily transfer that shares to the second one. There is no such problem in public company. Next is the statutory meetings and reports. For a private company, it is not required to call a statutory meeting and to submit statutory to the registrar of companies. No, I told you, no, very less formalities are kept for private companies. So it's not mandatory for them to hold a statutory meeting. But a statutory meeting must be held within a prescribed period for a public company. You have to conduct a statutory meeting. A statutory report is also to be submitted to the ROC, which is also mandatory in this case. Next is the quorum. Quorum means the minimum number of members required to hold a meeting. If less than that quorum is present, the meeting cannot be conducted. So the quorum for a meeting of private company is 2. If 2 people are present, the meeting can be conducted in a private company. But for a public company, the quorum is 5. You have to have 5 members present to conduct a meeting in case of a public company. Next is the filing of documents. A private company need not send the list of directors, their consent to the registrar of companies. Again, there's an edge given to the private company. No need to send any such type of documents. But for the public company, the list of the names of the directors, their consent and a contract with them, they have to be sent to the registrar of companies. So the filing of such type of documents is mandatory for a public company. Next comes the use of the word limited. See, if it is a private company, you have to write XYZ Private Limited. The word private limited must be used at the end of the name of the company. So if it is a private company, you cannot write XYZ Limited. No, what you have to write is you have to write XYZ Private Limited. The name itself makes it clear whether it is a private company or a public company. If it is a public company, what will you use? You will just use the word limited. As I told you in the beginning of the article, this will be XYZ Limited, which will indicate to you that it is a public company. And if it is a private company, you have to write XYZ Private Limited. Okay. Next comes the index of members. For a private company, there is no compulsion to maintain the index of the members. And for a public company, it is mandatory to maintain the index of members. It is just in repetition to file the documents. There are so many legal formalities for the public company. This is a repetition to that point only. Next is the legal formalities. Private company is exempted from various legal formalities. The case has been kept very simple for them. But for a public company, things are not that easy. You have to comply with so many legal formalities. See, a public company has to hold an annual general meeting. It is mandatory, but there is no such compulsion for a private company. No need to hold a AGM, right? A public company has to disclose its financial reports, which includes the balance sheet, the profit and loss, and the cash flow statement. The money of citizens is invested in a public company because you are inviting people to subscribe to your shares. People are giving you money and you are giving them share certificates. Their money is invested in the public company. So that is why you have to disclose your financial reports and make it public. Okay. No disclosure of such reports for a public company, it may invoke a suspicion of fraud in the minds of general public. If you are trying to shoo away, if you are trying to hide these financial reports, it may create a sense of suspicion in the minds of public because you are using other people's money to run your business. That is why the Indian Companies Act has made it mandatory to disclose all these financial reports to the public. Okay. Now, the question is it possible to shift from a private company to a public company and vice versa? Supposingly, you are running a private company, wo private limited wala, right? And now you want to make it a public company. Is it possible to you to switch? Or You are running a public company and you want to come back to a smaller size, to lesser formalities. You want to shift your public company to private company. Is it possible? So this is the question. The answer is yes, it is possible. You can shift either way. Shift from a private to public is comparatively easier. Mostly, the companies begin their career from private company, from a small scale, from the minimum less number of members with a less capital, right? As the need for more and more finances arise, if you want to expand your business, you need more capital. Without that capital, though, you cannot expand your business, right? Supposingly you are having one machine and your business is running very good. Now you are getting so many orders pan India that you want to increase the number of machines, you want to get more and more technology, you want to increase the production. So what will happen? The first point will be you need more capital. Now where will you finance this capital from? So that is why people shift from a private company to public company as more and more finances arise. So what they do is they launch an IPO. So what I am trying to say is that shift from a private company to public company is comparatively easier and has been happening in so many companies. But the shift from public to private is comparatively messed up with so many legal formalities. This also raises a question on the image of the firm, because you have taken public's capital and invested in your business. So what is the problem? Why are you shifting to a private company? So that involves a lot of legal formalities, but aisa nahi hai that it is not possible. The shift is possible. Okay, now here we come to the end of the article. I hope I have made the things very clear to you. In case you have any doubts, please feel free to ask me in the comment section. You have any suggestions for me? Please comment in the comment section. You're more than welcome for any suggestions. Kindly like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay blessed.